This is my first ride on the big bike in 2.5 months. And the reason for that is that she has been in the shop for all that time trying to respond to a safety notice of inspection. So come along for a ride and I'll tell you everything you never wanted to know about BC safety inspections. On November 14th, I was riding in downtown Vancouver at roughly Robson and Burrard and got pulled over by a constable. He issued a notice of inspection. I think what probably initially attracted his attention was my muffler, which was not unusually loud, but seemed to irk him. And I also had a very unusual tail tidy from the first owner of the bike, which made the license plate quite odd. Whatever attracted his attention, he gave me a notice of inspection, which does not have any fine attached to it, but I knew as soon as I got it that it was going to cause me a lot of issues. You can see on the notice to inspect a number of issues that the officer had with my bike, including the muffler, the tail tidy, or specifically the license plate, turn signals, aftermarket floodlights on the front. All of these would have to be dealt with before she could be inspected. There's a lot of snow up here in Squamish. I'm surprised about, because there's none in Vancouver. The good news is it hasn't rained. Indian Arm, Mam Clam. Not sure how far we can go on this. Hello? Oh, I'm just out messing. One closed.
Yeah.
Is
rock scaling.
this one is closed for rock scaling for a couple of hours. And they're working here 6 days a week. But it is still open. And apparently Mamquam is open, but also has construction work. So don't know how far up we can get on this either. Had no idea. She had no idea how long this was all going on for. Wow, this is like a smooth and wide. This is 6 clicks up Mamquam. Still incredibly smooth and wide, but it's starting to get snowy. So it will probably get shut down by the snow. Yeah, it starts to get pretty slushy. Well, it turned around at 6.5. And there's construction up at the branch line there, right at 6.5 clicks. So you can't go on the branch line, but you can keep going on Mamquam. It's just too snowy for me. Here comes a big truck. Alright, and then down here, it's clear. 6 clicks. Half a click makes a big difference when you're climbing like that. One of the good things about the whole inspection is that I got my Oxford heated, which is very like this. What's new on the bike after this forced safety inspection? Well, a big one is the turn signals. They had to go back to DOT approved. And I'm not unhappy with them because I always felt that the aftermarket ones were very tiny and hard to see. And a couple of my riding buddies have complained about that. No more floods on the front unless you want to get DOT approved and put little bags on them when you're on road. They are not allowed. The muffler. This is back to the OEM muffler. Had the Leo Vance on here, which I loved the sound of, and I didn't think was that loud, but it was above what's legally allowed. Reflectors go back on, and I don't know why anyway. It's kind of silly. So those are back on. The OEM turn signals on the back. Oh, and the tail tidy, of course. This was really abbreviated and cut up here. So this is the original tail tidy with some parts from other riding buddies to put it back to the original. And again, I'm not unhappy with this. The old one threw a lot of mud and spray. And of course this one does not. And I think that was it. The big holdup in all of this was that not only do they check the things that the officer specifically pointed out, but they do an entire safety inspection on the bike. And my ABS light had been on since April of last year down in Mexico. And it took a long time to get replacement parts for the sensors to get that working again. And I have a new addition here, which is a new tank bag because my old KTM one was getting very scruffy. And this is a giant loop, the large size, which is actually smaller than the KTM one. I like it a lot. It's a very clean strap setup and has enough room and doesn't impede my bars as much as the old one did. So yeah, those are all of the changes. One of the good things that's changed is that with the OEM muffler back on, she does not bark and backfire on deceleration. She's just nice and smooth. The Leo Vance, I think, increased the airflow, and the previous owner never remapped the ECU when he swapped the mufflers. So she was probably running pretty lean. You know, running the engine that lean is a little hard on things. So not unhappy with that. On the notice of inspection, it very clearly states that you've got 30 days to get the inspection done and that you can't drive the bike after that. And so when it became obvious that I wasn't going to make the deadline, I called the Vancouver police and they said, email the officer. And he said that, you know, the 30 days was an exemption and that he had no control over the timing, and that you couldn't drive it after that and you could not insure it until the inspection had been done. So basically, I had until December 14th to get it to a shop that could do an inspection and hopefully also address the issues that needed to be done before it was inspected. Now, one of the things that took the longest time was to get the front speed sensor, which is what both the Mexican shop way back in April and my own code reader said was the problem with the ABS. No signal from the front speed sensor. So that was going to take 2 months. And then a friend of mine who has a Yamaha connection offered to get it sent in from the States, which I managed to get on December 14th, the last day I could drive it. And we got it in, got it installed, and it didn't fix the problem. So they had to run the bike on a truck over to Checkpoint Yamaha, who said that it was the back sensor. And that was another couple of weeks of waiting for parts. And I was really doubtful that it was going to fix it, but it did. So that was a big chunk of time that was left. And I have to say that the guys, I took it to Burnaby Kawasaki because they are a motorcycle inspection site. And I've used Burnaby Kawasaki years ago. And I have to say that they are one of the most pleasant motorcycle shops to deal with. You know, they treat the clients like they're the reason they're there, as opposed to an annoyance, which is how you feel in a lot of the bike shops when you show up. And they really did a good job of, you know, trying to solve the problems and running it around to various shops if it wasn't something they could solve because of specific code readers, and then did the inspection itself. So it actually ended up working out pretty well. It also ended up costing close to $1,000 by the time taxes were in, but I was happy to get her back.